Arrival on the Death World. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, its sleek metallic hull glowing faintly as it entered the planet's gravitational pull. Inside, a group of alien students sat nervously, their wide eyes darting toward the windows. The green and blue world beneath them seemed deceptively peaceful, but they knew better. This was a death world, a place so dangerous that it was considered uninhabitable for most species in the galaxy. Zinar, a tall and lanky Vrixian, with shimmering blue scales, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. "Why did the council think this was a good idea?" he muttered. "We're not warriors. We're scholars." Crix, a smaller alien with soft, fur-like skin, nodded quickly. "Exactly. What if we step on something poisonous? Or worse, what if we meet a human?" The group fell silent. Humans were the only known species to not only survive, but thrive on a death world. Stories about them circulated through the galaxy like campfire tales. Beings who could adapt to anything, creatures who laughed in the face of danger. The shuttle landed with a soft thud, breaking their tense silence. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Welcome to Earth. Please exit in an orderly fashion and prepare for your orientation." The aliens hesitated, exchanging nervous glances before stepping out into the open air. The environment was overwhelming. The air felt dense and full of strange scents. A chorus of bird calls echoed through the trees, and the ground beneath their feet felt uneven, alive with small movements. Zinar's scales prickled as he looked around. Even the plants here seemed aggressive, their jagged leaves and vibrant colors screaming danger. Their human guide appeared moments later. Mr. Carter was a middle-aged man with a warm smile and a slightly scruffy beard. He wore a casual outfit and carried a clipboard, looking completely at ease in this chaotic world. "Welcome to Earth," he said cheerfully. "I'm Mr. Carter, your guide and teacher during your time here. I know this place might seem a bit intense at first, but trust me, you'll get used to it." "Used to it?" Crix squeaked, his fur standing on end. "How do you get used to a place like this?" Mr. Carter chuckled. "Humans have a saying, 'What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.' You'll see what that means soon enough." The group was led to a nearby school, a modest building surrounded by dense forest. As they walked, Mr. Carter pointed out various features of the environment. "Over there, we have a patch of nettle bushes. Careful not to touch those. They sting. And that tree. It drops seeds that can knock you out if you're standing directly beneath it. Nature here has its quirks, but it's all part of the charm." Zinar gulped, carefully avoiding stepping on anything that looked remotely suspicious. Once inside the school, the students were introduced to their human peers. The humans seemed ordinary, almost disappointingly so. They smiled and waved, their faces full of curiosity rather than hostility. Lisa, a tall girl with a confident demeanor, approached the group. "You must be the exchange students. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. Just stick with us, and you'll be fine." Crix eyed her skeptically. "Fine. We've heard about your death world. Everything here is designed to kill." Lisa grinned. "True, but that's what makes it exciting. You'll see." The day passed in a blur of introductions and tours. By evening, the alien students were exhausted, their nerves frayed from constantly watching for hidden dangers. As they sat together in their dorm room, Zinar spoke up. "This place is insane. How do they live here?" Before anyone could answer, a loud roar echoed from the nearby forest. The group froze, their eyes wide with fear. "What was that?" Crix whispered. Lisa's voice came over the intercom. "Don't worry, it's just a bear. They usually stay away from the school. Just don't leave the building, and you'll be safe." "Usually," Zinar hissed. The aliens huddled together, their imaginations running wild. Outside, the world seemed alive with dangers they couldn't comprehend. But one thing was clear. Humans weren't just survivors. They were masters of this terrifying world. And for the first time, The aliens began to wonder if there was more to these seemingly ordinary beings than met the eye. The lesson begins. The morning light filtered through the thick canopy of trees, casting dappled shadows across the school grounds. The alien students gathered nervously near the entrance, their sleep disturbed by the strange sounds of the night before. Zinar and Crix exchanged uneasy glances, both silently wishing they were anywhere but on this planet. Their human guide, Mr. Carter, appeared as cheerful as ever, holding a sturdy walking stick and a clipboard. "Good morning, everyone. I hope you slept well. Today, we'll start with a practical lesson on Earth's environment. Hands-on experience is the best way to learn." Zinar raised a trembling hand. "Hands-on? What exactly does that mean?" Mr. Carter grinned. "It means you'll be out there." He gestured toward the sprawling forest behind him, exploring, observing, and learning how to adapt. Crix's fur bristled. "Out there, among the creatures and plants that want to kill us." Lisa, the human student assigned to assist the aliens, stepped forward with a confident smirk. "Relax. We've got your backs. This is going to be fun. Besides, you'll learn why we humans aren't afraid of this place." The aliens weren't convinced, but they had little choice. The group was divided into pairs, each alien assigned a human buddy. Lisa paired up with Zinar, while Crix found himself reluctantly stuck with a boy named Max, who seemed far too enthusiastic about the day's activities. Their first task was simple: identify edible plants from a selection of samples scattered in the forest. Lisa crouched near a bush, picking a few berries and showing them to Zinar. "These are safe to eat," she explained. "You can tell because the leaves are serrated and the berries grow in clusters of 5. But if you see berries with a waxy coating, stay away. Those will make you sick." Zinar frowned, his scales shimmering with unease. "How can you tell? They all look the same to me." Lisa popped a berry into her mouth and shrugged. "You get used to it. Humans evolved here. We had to learn these things to survive." Nearby, Max was enthusiastically digging up roots while Crix stood a few feet away, eyeing every shadow as if it concealed a predator. "Come on, Crix," Max said, holding up a knotty root. "This is wild yam. Pretty good when roasted. Want to try?" Crix backed away, shaking his head. "I'd rather not risk it." Max laughed. "Suit yourself. But you're missing out. Fear won't get you far on Earth." As the morning wore on, the aliens began to notice something strange. While they struggled to navigate the forest, the humans moved with an ease that seemed almost instinctual. They climbed over fallen logs, dodged thorny vines, and identified plants and animals without hesitation. At one point, Zinar and Lisa encountered a small snake coiled on a rock. Zinar froze, his heart racing, but Lisa calmly stepped back and gestured for him to do the same. "It's just a garter snake," she said, "completely harmless. But if it were a rattlesnake, you'd want to give it plenty of space. How can you be so calm?" Zinar asked, his voice trembling. Lisa shrugged. "You learn to respect the dangers, not fear them. Humans didn't survive here by running away from everything." By midday, the group returned to the school with their findings. Mr. Carter reviewed their work, praising the humans for their expertise and offering gentle corrections to the aliens. "You're all doing great," he said. "This isn't just about survival. It's about understanding the balance of life on a death world. Everything here has a role, a purpose. Once you see that, it's not so scary." The aliens weren't so sure. As they sat together during lunch, they whispered about their experiences. "Humans are insane," Crix said, still shaken from a close encounter with a large spider. "They're not insane," Zinar replied thoughtfully. "They're different. They see this world in a way we can't. It's like they belong here." Before they could continue, a loud crash echoed from the forest, followed by the unmistakable sound of something large moving through the underbrush. The group froze, their eyes darting toward the noise. Mr. Carter appeared, his expression calm but serious. Looks like we got an uninvited guest. Everyone inside the building. Now, the humans sprang into action, herding the aliens toward safety. The alien students, though terrified, couldn't help but notice how the humans remained composed, their movements precise and purposeful. As they huddled inside, the building trembling slightly from the creature outside, Zinar couldn't shake the feeling that humans were far more than they appeared. The lesson wasn't just about survival. It was about understanding the indomitable spirit of a species that had made a death world their home. The predator's shadow. The air inside the building was tense, filled with the muffled sound of breathing and the faint creak of the structure as the enormous creature prowled outside. The alien students huddled together, their fear palpable, while the humans moved with a practiced calm that seemed alien in itself. "What is it?" Crix whispered, his voice barely audible. Lisa crouched near a window, peeking through a gap in the blinds. "Probably a grizzly bear or something similar. It's not here to hurt us unless we provoke it." "A bear?" Zinar's scales rippled with fear. "How can you be so calm? That thing could tear us apart." Lisa smiled faintly. "Because I know we'll be fine. Bears don't attack unless they feel threatened. Trust me, panicking won't help." Mr. Carter walked into the room, his demeanor calm but commanding. "Everyone, listen up. The creature outside is just a part of Earth's ecosystem. It's not a monster, just an animal looking for food or passing through. Stay quiet, stay still, and it will move on." Crix's eyes widened in disbelief. "Stay still? Are you insane? Shouldn't we be running?" Max chuckled softly, his voice laced with confidence. "Run. That's the worst thing you could do. Predators are hardwired to chase fleeing prey. Standing your ground shows you're not worth the effort." The aliens exchanged nervous glances, their instincts screaming at them to flee. But as the humans remained calm and collected, a seed of trust began to take root. Outside, the sound of heavy footsteps circled the building, the creature's massive weight causing the ground to tremble slightly. Zinar held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He couldn't understand how the humans could be so composed in the face of such danger. Lisa's voice broke the silence. "This is what we've been trying to teach you. Earth isn't about avoiding danger. It's about understanding it, respecting it. Once you do that, you'll see that fear doesn't have to control you." Zinar swallowed hard, his gaze flicking to the humans who seemed unshaken. Their confidence was unnerving, yet oddly reassuring. The minutes dragged on, each one feeling like an eternity. Then, as suddenly as it had arrived, the creature let out a low growl and began to move away. The sound of its footsteps grew fainter until there was only silence. Mr. Carter exhaled slowly, nodding to the group. "All right, everyone, it's gone. Let's head to the main hall and debrief." The alien students hesitated, still trembling, but the humans moved with practiced ease. Crix finally spoke, his voice laced with frustration and awe. "How can you live like this? Constantly surrounded by things that could kill you." Max grinned as he helped Crix to his feet. "You get used to it. Earth teaches you to be tough, to think on your feet. That's why we're called Deathworlders. But surviving here also teaches you that life is about more than fear." As the group made their way to the main hall, the alien students began to see the humans in a new light. They weren't just fearless. They were adaptable, resourceful, and deeply connected to their environment. When they reached the hall, Mr. Carter addressed the group. Today's experience wasn't just about facing a predator. It was about understanding that fear can be managed. It doesn't have to paralyze you. Humans didn't survive on this planet by being the strongest or the fastest. We survived because we learned to think, to adapt, and to face challenges head-on. Zinar listened intently, his earlier terror now tempered by curiosity. There was a strength in the humans that he couldn't quite comprehend, a strength that went beyond physical ability. As the session ended, Lisa leaned toward Zinar. "See, it's not so bad once you understand how things work. Stick with us, and you might even start to enjoy it. Zinar wasn't sure if he would ever enjoy a place like Earth, but he couldn't deny that the humans were teaching him something valuable. For the first time, he felt a flicker of hope that he might not just survive here, but learn to thrive. And perhaps, just perhaps, he could begin to understand what made humans the way they were, why they had become masters of a death world that others feared. A test of courage. The main hall was filled with murmurs as the group of alien students gathered, still shaken from their close encounter. The humans, however, seemed unfazed, moving among them with calm reassurance. Mr. Carter stood at the front of the room, his presence commanding attention. "Today's lesson isn't over yet," he began, his voice steady. "We've seen how fear can grip you, how it can paralyze. But now we'll see how it can be overcome." Crix raised a trembling hand. "Overcome? You mean we have to face more of this madness?" Lisa smirked. "Relax. It's not as bad as you think. Besides, fear is just an instinct. It's how you handle it that defines you." The alien students exchanged uneasy glances as Mr. Carter explained the next activity. "You'll be navigating a controlled simulation in the wilderness. It's designed to push your limits but is completely safe. The goal is to confront your fear and rely on your teammates to get through." "Safe on Earth," Zinar muttered under his breath, his scales rippling nervously. Max, standing nearby, clapped Zinar on the shoulder. "You'll be fine. Trust me, it's more about strategy than strength. And you've got us." The group was split into teams, each consisting of a mix of humans and aliens. Zinar found himself paired with Max and Lisa, much to his relief. If anyone could guide him through this nightmare, it was them. The simulation began in a dense forest, the towering trees casting long shadows over the uneven ground. The air was thick with the scent of earth and vegetation, and the distant sound of rushing water hinted at a nearby river. "This way," Lisa said, leading the group with confidence. "Stay close, and remember to keep your eyes and ears open." As they moved deeper into the forest, the sounds of the wilderness grew louder. Birds called from the treetops, insects buzzed around them, and the occasional rustle of leaves hinted at unseen creatures. For the humans, it was just another day in nature. For the aliens, it was a sensory overload. "What's that?" Crix yelped as a small animal darted across their path. Lisa laughed. "A squirrel. Harmless, but curious. They're more afraid of you than you are of them." Max pointed to the ground ahead. "See those tracks? Something bigger passed through here recently. We'll need to be careful." Zinar froze. "Bigger? How much bigger?" "Not that much," Max said with a shrug. "Probably a deer. They're skittish, but they can be intimidating if startled. Just stay calm, and you'll be fine." The group pressed on, navigating fallen logs and shallow streams. Each step tested the aliens' resolve, but they found themselves relying on the humans' calm demeanor and practical advice. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the forest, the group reached a clearing. There, a towering structure made of ropes and wooden planks awaited them, a high obstacle course designed to challenge their courage and teamwork. Lisa gestured to the course. "This is the final part of the simulation. We'll work together to get across. It looks intimidating, but it's completely safe." Zinar stared at the course, his stomach twisting in knots. "You call that safe? It's a death trap." Max grinned. "It's only a death trap if you don't trust your teammates. We'll guide you through it, one step at a time." The first few obstacles were nerve-wracking for the aliens. Balancing on narrow beams and swinging across gaps pushed them to their limits. But with Lisa's steady guidance and Max's encouragement, they began to find their footing, literally and figuratively. Zinar hesitated at a particularly daunting section, a long rope bridge swaying precariously over a shallow ravine. His claws gripped the rope tightly as he glanced down, his heart racing. "You've got this," Max called from the other side. "Don't look down. Focus on me." Zinar took a deep breath, his legs trembling as he stepped onto the bridge. The ropes creaked under his weight, But he forced himself to keep moving. With each step, his confidence grew, and by the time he reached the other side, he was almost smiling. I did it," he said, his voice filled with awe. Lisa clapped him on the back. "See, told you it wasn't so bad. You're stronger than you think." By the time the group completed the course, the alien students were exhausted but exhilarated. The fear that had gripped them earlier was replaced by a newfound sense of accomplishment. As they gathered around a campfire to debrief, Mr. Carter addressed them. "Today, you faced your fears and proved to yourselves that you could rise above them. That's the essence of what it means to be a Deathworlder, not the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome it." Zinar glanced at his human teammates, a spark of admiration in his eyes. For the first time, he began to understand the resilience and strength that made humans so unique. And as he looked up at the star-filled sky, he felt a flicker of hope that he might one day share in that strength. The shadows strike. The night deepened over the forest, and the group settled by the campfire. The alien students, though still on edge, began to relax under the flickering warmth. Stories of Earth's dangers, told in lighter tones by the humans, filled the air with hesitant laughter. "This isn't so bad," Zinar admitted, sipping on a mug of something hot and sweet. "I think I'm starting to like this place." Lisa grinned. "Don't get too comfortable. Earth has a way of keeping you on your toes." Just as the group's spirits were lifting, a sharp, distant sound cut through the air. It was an eerie, guttural howl that sent shivers down every spine. What was that?" Crix whispered, his scales quivering. Max stood, scanning the darkness beyond the firelight. "Coyotes," he said, "probably just hunting. They don't usually bother groups this size." "Usually?" Zinar asked, his voice trembling. Lisa tossed another log onto the fire, causing the flames to roar higher. "Animals don't like fire. As long as we stay close, we'll be fine." But the mood had shifted. The shadows seemed deeper now, the forest alive with subtle movements and strange sounds. Every rustle of leaves felt like a potential threat. The humans maintained their calm, but the aliens were on edge. Zinar's tail twitched nervously as his eyes darted from shadow to shadow. "Are we sure this is safe?" Before anyone could answer, a sudden snap of a branch nearby made the entire group jump. A figure emerged from the tree line, a tall, dark silhouette that moved with deliberate slowness. "Who's there?" Mr. Carter demanded, his voice steady but firm. The figure stepped into the firelight, revealing a large, muscular man with weathered features and a rifle slung over his shoulder. "Relax," the stranger said. "Name's Harlan. I live up the ridge. Saw your fire and thought I'd check on you." The group visibly relaxed, though Zinar still eyed the newcomer with suspicion. "A human?" he muttered under his breath. Harlan crouched by the fire, his sharp eyes scanning the group. "Out-of-towners, huh? Let me guess. First time on Earth." The aliens nodded hesitantly. "Well," Harlan said, leaning closer, "you picked a hell of a spot. This forest isn't as quiet as it looks." "What do you mean?" Crix asked, his voice barely a whisper. Harlan's face darkened. "There's been something in these woods, something big. Locals have been hearing strange noises, finding tracks too large to belong to any known animal. Some say it's just a bear, but what?" Zinar pressed, his fear mounting. Harlan shrugged. "But bears don't leave claw marks 15 feet up a tree." The group fell silent, the crackling fire suddenly feeling less comforting. Lisa rolled her eyes. "Don't mind him. Harlan loves a good scare story. Isn't that right?" Harlan smirked but said nothing. As the night wore on, the group tried to shake off the tension, but every sound in the forest seemed louder, every shadow more menacing. When it was finally time to rest, no one felt entirely safe. The humans took turns standing watch, their calm demeanor providing some comfort to the alien students. But Zinar couldn't sleep. Every rustle, Every distant sound kept him on edge. At one point, he nudged Max, who was sitting by the fire, his eyes scanning the darkness. "How can you be so calm?" Max shrugged. "We've lived here all our lives. Earth teaches you to respect it, not fear it. Besides, we're not alone. If anything happens, we'll face it together." Zinar nodded, though his nerves remained frayed. He lay back down, trying to will himself to sleep. Just as his eyes began to close, a blood-curdling scream tore through the night. It was followed by a heavy crashing sound, like something massive moving through the trees. The group sprang to their feet, their hearts pounding. Harlan was already on his feet, his rifle raised. "Stay close to the fire," he ordered. "Whatever that was, it's coming this way." The alien students huddled together, their fear palpable. The humans formed a protective circle around them, their expressions grim but determined. As the crashing grew louder, Zinar felt a strange mix of terror and awe. This was Earth, a world of unimaginable danger and unparalleled resilience. And for the first time, he understood why humans were called Deathworlders. Whatever was out there, he knew one thing for certain. The humans wouldn't back down. The predator revealed. The crashing in the forest grew louder, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The alien students clung to each other, their fear mirrored in their wide, glowing eyes. The humans, though tense, stood their ground, weapons ready and eyes scanning the dark tree line. What could it be? Crick stammered, his claws digging into the dirt. "Could be anything," Harlan said, his voice low but steady. "But it's big. And it's not scared of us." Lisa whispered to Max, "We should spread the fire, make it larger. Animals usually avoid flames." Max nodded and quickly threw more logs onto the fire, causing it to roar higher and cast flickering light further into the forest. The shadows danced wildly, creating an eerie, surreal atmosphere. Suddenly, the crashing stopped. The silence that followed was deafening, as though the forest itself was holding its breath. "It's watching us," Harlan muttered, scanning the trees. From the tree line, a pair of glowing, golden eyes emerged, reflecting the firelight. The creature stepped forward, its massive form partially illuminated. It was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Towering and muscular, with thick, matted fur and claws that gleamed like steel. Its growl rumbled through the air, vibrating deep in their chests. "Is that a bear?" Zinar whispered, though he knew the answer. "No," Max replied grimly. "That's not a bear." The creature let out a deafening roar, the force of it making the fire flicker. It charged forward, its movements swift and powerful, despite its size. "Stay behind us," Lisa shouted to the alien students as the humans stepped forward, forming a protective wall. Harlan raised his rifle and fired. The shot rang out, echoing through the forest, but the creature barely flinched. Instead, it swiped a massive paw at a nearby tree, splintering it like kindling. "We need to lure it away from the camp," Max yelled. Lisa grabbed a flaming branch from the fire and waved it at the beast. "Hey, ugly, over here," she shouted, trying to catch its attention. The creature snarled and lunged toward her. Lisa darted back, her heart pounding, but her movements were calculated, leading it away from the group. Meanwhile, Harlan and Max flanked the creature, using their rifles to fire precise shots at its legs. The bullets seemed to slow it, but only slightly. "Keep it distracted," Harlan barked. The alien students watched in a mix of terror and awe. These humans, so small compared to the creature, fought with a bravery that seemed almost reckless. Zinar found himself unable to look away, his fear giving way to a strange sense of admiration. "Why are they doing this?" he asked, his voice shaking. Crix, though equally terrified, replied, "Because that's what they do. They fight, no matter the odds." The humans worked in unison, their movements coordinated, and their determination unwavering. Lisa continued to taunt the creature with the flaming branch, while Harlan and Max aimed for its vulnerable spots. Finally, the creature hesitated. It growled, its golden eyes narrowing, before retreating into the shadows. The sound of its crashing footsteps faded into the distance, leaving the forest silent once more. Everyone stood frozen for a moment, their breaths coming in heavy gasps. "Is it gone?" Crix asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "For now," Harlan said, lowering his rifle. "But it'll be back. Things like that don't give up so easily." The group returned to the campfire, their faces pale but their resolve stronger than ever. Lisa dropped the flaming branch and looked at the alien students. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice tinged with both exhaustion and pride. Zinar, still trembling, managed a weak smile. "You humans, you really are something else." Harlan chuckled darkly. "You haven't seen the half of it." As the fire crackled and the night wore on, the alien students began to understand the true nature of humanity. It wasn't just their bravery or their strength. It was their unyielding spirit, their refusal to back down, no matter the odds. And in that moment, surrounded by the darkness of Earth's wilds, they realized they were learning far more than they had ever expected. The lesson of survival. Dawn broke over the horizon, casting golden light through the dense canopy of the forest. The alien students, huddled together near the now dwindling campfire, had barely slept. The events of the night still played vividly in their minds. The relentless creature, the human's bravery, and the fragile line between survival and death on this dangerous planet. Harlan was the first to stir, checking his rifle and surveying the area. "Looks like we made it through the night," he said, his tone calm but alert. Lisa stretched and gave a tired smile. Another day in paradise. Zinar, still clutching his datapad, couldn't help but ask, "How do you do it? How do you survive on a planet like this?" Harlan turned to him, his gaze steady. "We adapt. We fight. And most importantly, we stick together." Max walked over, holding a small survival kit. "It's not just about strength or weapons. It's about using what you have, knowing your environment, and understanding that no one is invincible, not even us." Crix's eyes narrowed in confusion. But why take risks? Why not flee? Why confront danger head-on? Lisa chuckled softly. "That's just who we are. Running doesn't solve anything. We face what comes at us because that's how we grow stronger." The humans began packing up the camp, their movements efficient and methodical. Despite their exhaustion, they worked with practiced ease, a stark contrast to the alien students who were still shaky and unsure. Zinar approached Harlan hesitantly. "We came here to learn about survival, but we never imagined it would be like this. This isn't just a lesson. It's a trial." Harlan nodded. "Survival isn't something you can read in a book or simulate in a lab. It's messy, dangerous, and unpredictable. But it's also what teaches you to value life and fight for it." Suddenly, the ground trembled again. A low growl echoed in the distance, making the group freeze. "It's back," Max muttered, his hand instinctively going to his weapon. The alien students panicked, their earlier fear returning in full force. "Stay calm," Lisa instructed. "We've got this." As the humans prepared to face the returning threat, Zinar felt a surge of determination. He wasn't a fighter, but he couldn't stand idly by while these humans risked their lives to protect them. "We can help," Zinar said, his voice shaky but resolute. Harlan glanced at him, surprised. "Help? How?" Zinar held up his datapad. "We've been observing, analyzing. The creature, it's territorial. If we can drive it away from its boundary, it might leave us alone." Max raised an eyebrow. "That's a big gamble." "It's better than doing nothing," Zinar replied. Harlan considered this for a moment before nodding. "All right, we'll try your plan." With Zinar's guidance, the group moved carefully, using the terrain to their advantage. The alien students, though still terrified, began to follow the humans' lead, helping where they could. When the creature emerged from the trees, it roared louder than before, its massive form even more intimidating in the daylight. But this time, the group was ready. Lisa and Max used their weapons to create loud, startling noises, while Harlan and Zinar led the creature toward a rocky ravine. The alien students, using their advanced tech, projected bright flashes of light to confuse and disorient the beast. The plan worked. The creature, overwhelmed and disoriented, retreated into the ravine, its growls fading into the distance. The group stood in silence for a moment, the tension slowly melting into relief. "We did it," Crix whispered, barely believing it himself. Lisa grinned. Not bad for a bunch of first-timers. Zinar looked at Harlan, his respect for the humans now fully cemented. "You didn't just teach us survival. You taught us courage." Harlan smiled faintly. Courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about acting despite the fear. As they began their journey back to the landing site, the alien students felt a profound shift in their perspective. They had come to this death world expecting to learn about survival through observation. Instead, they had lived it, and in doing so, they had glimpsed the unyielding spirit that defined humanity. For the first time, Zinar truly understood what it meant to be a deathworlder. It wasn't about living on a harsh planet. It was about thriving against all odds, facing challenges head-on, and never backing down. As the humans led them back, Zinar made a silent vow. He would share this experience with his people, not to warn them about the dangers of Earth, but to honor the resilience and courage of its inhabitants. And though the alien students knew they would leave this world soon, a part of them would always carry the lessons they had learned, the lessons of humanity.